public buildings, why would we be here? That just, to me, was very obvious. Now, the question becomes, so Friday, definitely no court. The question then becomes Thursday. And what are we going to do about Thursday? There will be a meeting this afternoon, and we will make definite plans for Thursday. Depending on the weather, well, there's one definite for Thursday. We will recess at noon tomorrow, no ifs, ands, or buts. And there won't be a lunch, it'll be go and get yourself where you need to be. The question becomes, will we have court in the morning from 9 to 12? If we can, I would like to do that. We need to, we're moving into having some rhythm with the case. It's moving into being tried. And so we need to be working if we can. That said, safety trumps all. So I'm going to meet with the sheriff this afternoon and take a look at what the situation is and make a decision there with safety as the first priority. So at this point, court will be in session from 9 to 12 in the morning, but that is fluid until we have more information about the storm and we can make better decisions. Just right now, it's not solid enough information to make an informed decision. But when it snowed so bad in Atlanta, the reason I got stuck in the car was I got my jurors out of the courthouse first. So that tells you how I feel about jurors. And my husband was blowing up my computer saying, you need to leave now. Where are you? Come home. And 5 hours later, he says, well, you needed to leave then. And I said, no, sir, I had jurors in the courthouse. I wasn't leaving until I knew they were fine. So that's the degree to which I am concerned about your well-being. So that's what we're going to do. Now,
9 hours, Judge, for me to Kennesaw.
Oh.
So we get 9 hours.
oh, well, my son got stuck for 24 hours on a bridge in Alpharetta. And just a little aside, and I'm sorry you got stuck for 9 hours. But the neighbors, he was in a neighborhood stuck on a bridge. They brought out blankets, hot chocolate, soup, took care of everybody on that bridge. Remarkable. And I bet you ran into something similar.
There was some remarkable kindness for some of us that were stranded out there.
All right, back to work. Mr. Evans.
All right. We're about to get to some videos. Before we do that, there's a couple other photographs I think we need to show first before we play those. Give us some context. So, I want to ask you about some of the facial injuries that you had mentioned. Let's go to State's Exhibit number 90. This is going to be a picture of Cooper Harris's face. Looking at State's Exhibit number 90, what are these areas over here on the left cheek?
What I observed looked like some scratching there where the skin has started to flake up.
Looking at State's Exhibit 91. Is this a better view of that angle?
Yes, it would be.
Okay. 91.
Let's do that more.
This is attached to it. Yes, sir. Similar to 92. Those two areas you just described, scratching to the face, or the areas of injury to the face?
That's correct.
At some point, did Investigator Jackson also lift up Cooper Harris's shirt such that you were able to document the condition of his abdomen and what it looked like?
Yes, he did.
I want to go to State's Exhibit 95. Looking at 95 here, what is Investigator Jackson doing and what can you see?
He's had his shirt lifted up and maneuvering his left arm over.
And then this is State's Exhibit number 96. What's down at the bottom of this photograph?
His waistline below his navel, and you can see the diaper line.
Did you notice any discoloration? It's kind of hard to see on the monitor. You can see it better on the actual photo. But looking at State Exhibit 96, did you recall seeing any discoloration to his body?
It was unremarkable. There's not much discoloration here, more toward the top, and towards where he was lying behind on the in the seat.
But some down here towards the diaper?
Right.
Okay. Let's go to the video. You can take a seat for this. The first video that you took, this is before Investigator Jackson arrived, correct?
Correct.
And that video just simply documents the exterior of the car as you observed it. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Play video number 1. Opposed to the pop-up tent you described?
That's correct.
You saw some still photos of this vantage point from the door frame, correct?
That's correct.
Video from the vantage point from the door frame?
From the driver's side door frame, that would be correct.
That dinging noise, the keys were still in the ignition, is that correct?
That's correct.
Videotape from this angle through the windshield. Could you see the red car seat?
Yes.
Is that the Cinco's in the background with the deck?
Yes.
Subway in front of the vehicle?
Yes, the backside of the subway, which is just south of the Maniox.
Video number 2. Is that the second video you described after Martin Jackson arrived? The video?
That's
Cooper
correct.
Harris?
That's correct.
This is State's Exhibit 29. Previously, we didn't ask you about the temperature reading on the dashboard.
Correct.
Okay.
Let me approach.
Yeah, please. When we zoom in on this photograph, were you able to actually see that temperature reading?
You can read it from this vantage point.
Okay. It's probably hard for the jury to see. What's the number of the temperature outside listed there?
It reads 95 degrees Fahrenheit.
In that vein. I'm going to go to stage 222 now. Looking at 222, is that just simply an enhanced version that focuses in on that temperature reading?
Yes, it is.
Is that the 95 degrees that I'm pointing at right there?
Yes, it is.
All right, sir. And that's C. Who's in? I'm pretty sure. Mr. Lumpkin, I was mistaken. I said that in your stack. I see I have 222 here, so let me authenticate it. 222, we've come doing this out of order. We just displayed that for the jury. 222 is a fair and accurate zoomed-in depiction of State's Exhibit 29. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'll tender State's 222. My apologies.
That's good. That's no problem.
And I don't need that back if you want to keep it with your...
Thank you. Your objections?
It's in there.
All right, sir. We talk about primary and secondary scenes sometime, correct?
Correct.
And you're familiar with those two terms?
I am.
All right. What's the difference between a primary scene and then a secondary scene?
Primary scene simply is that's where the primary area of interest is relating to the crime. Secondary scene will be maybe a location otherwise that would be of certain value to the investigation, such as a house or a car away from the primary location will be secondary scene.
You already gave us some testimony before the morning break about having processed this scene. Were you at some point on that same date in June called to process a couple of other scenes as well?
Yes.
And describe the two areas that you went to such that you were able to process these other two scenes.
When I was when I completed finishing that, the primary location where Cooper was at, State Commander Lieutenant Farrell advised me that I should go to the Treehouse office of the Home Depot. Home Depot is located, the business is located there approximately maybe a couple miles away from the actual primary location. These are offices for the, not the actual Home Depot store, but offices related to the Home Depot Corporation. And the office is known as the Treehouse, so that's where I was advised to go to.
And did you actually go to that scene? Is that the next one that you went to?
That's correct.
And once there, did you process a vehicle? I'm going to refer to it as Leanna Harris's vehicle.
Right, I was advised to go to locate this vehicle and then photograph it. And I was given a license plate number and a description, and then located it in a parking lot in the office complex there and photographed it.
Now, you've been to this area in Cobb County before for other scenes and for work-related purposes.
I have.
Were you also at some point later on called to go to Winds Ridge, the defendant's home, to take some photographs and collect some evidence there?
I did. Right after I went to the Home Depot Treehouse corporate office there, I received another phone call from Lieutenant Farrell advising to go to the address of Winds Ridge to assist in executing a search warrant at the location, which I would later know would be the residence of the Harrises.
I want to ask you about several other aerials that we have down before the jury. Let's authenticate them all first, and then we'll tender them and hopefully discuss some of these other areas you just talked to us about. So we'll close that door. We'll take them in order. This is State's Exhibit 229. Looking at 229, first question is this a fair and accurate depiction of this general area that you've described, including the treehouse and the primary crime scene that's depicted in State's 228?
It is.
This is zoomed out from the Uncle Matteo's. Does it capture the Home Depot treehouse?
Yes, it does.
There are some other locations that are marked here as well. Do you recognize what those locations are?
I'm familiar with them.
Okay, and why don't you describe what's labeled here on State's 229?
From north will be the Uncle Matteo's Pizza, the shopping center where the initial scene was located. And to the southwest of there, along Cumberland Boulevard, would be the Home Depot Treehouse office. And south of there, and across Cumberland Parkway, would be Little Apron Academy, and a Chick-fil-A location just south of Mrs. Ferry.
That's all included in State's 229. Correct? Correct. The next aerial that I have for you is State's Exhibit 230. And looking at 230,
This is a zoomed in of the general area around the Home Depot Treehouse corporate office, the Little Apron Academy, a Chick-fil-A, and there's a public shopping center just southwest of the Chick-fil-A there, and the actual Home Depot store. If you're in the Publix parking lot, and you look over, you can see the Home Depot store there.
this is actual the store. It's not the corporate headquarters, the treehouse that you've been referring to.
Correct.
Okay. And the first secondary scene that you went to where Leanna Harris's vehicle was located, is that depicted here on State's Exhibit 230, and is it labeled Home Depot Treehouse Office?
That's true.
This is a fair and accurate depiction of that area?
Yes.
This is State's Exhibit 231, the next aerial that I have for you. Looking at State's Exhibit 231 and comparing it to State's Exhibit 230, how is it different in terms of the vantage point of the Home Depot Treehouse office?
It's just a zoomed in over the general office and parking area.
And does it include the parking lot area outside the Home Depot Treehouse office?
That's correct.
And then the final aerial I have for our purposes right now is going to be State's Exhibit 232. Looking at State's Exhibit 232, you talked about a secondary scene that you went to at some point during this investigation, that being the defendant's home, correct?
Correct.
And do you see that depicted here on 232?
That's correct.
And is this a fair and accurate aerial depiction that includes 1212 Winds Ridge Circle?
That's correct.
What else is depicted on 232 that we've already discussed?
The location of the Home Depot Treehouse corporate office, the Little Apron Academy, and the Chick-fil-A.
All right. I'm now going to tender States 229, 230, 231, and 232.
No objection.
Admitted without objection.
You just stay with me for a second. To get our bearings, we're going to start with what was previously admitted. 228. This is the Uncle Matteo's and the first scene, the primary scene that you went to, correct?
That's correct.
And then this is labeled Cumberland Parkway, is that correct?
That's correct.
And what road is this?
Cumberland Boulevard.
And I want to ask you, comparing Cumberland Boulevard to this area that you went to, the primary scene, which is more congested?
I would say Acres Mill, coming in from the interstate.
Over here?
Correct.
Are these business office here off of Cumberland Boulevard?
Right, there are several businesses next to, this is Cumberland Mall, and just to the east of there will be lots of other businesses that are congregated in the area.
These are retail establishments up to the top?
Correct.
And restaurants?
Correct.
And then these are offices, correct?
Correct.
And what's this?
That is the movie theater.
This is State's Exhibit 229. Start with what should already be familiar to the jury. At the top of 229, what's this area?
This is the area where the primary scene was located, where Cooper was discovered.
And comparing it, you can see that State's 228 is actually, that vantage point's included in here, but we've now zoomed out for 229. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
All right. Coming down Acres Mill, Cumberland Boulevard, then down this road, what's depicted here as we go south on our map?
That's the Home Depot Treehouse office.
Continuing on down that road, Cumberland Parkway. Describe what's depicted here.
It's a Chick-fil-A restaurant, and the Publix would be situated across the parking lot, kind of down a hill. There's a Goodyear tire shop here, and a Starbucks right here.
Is this the Home Depot, the store that you referred to?
Right, this is the Home Depot store right here.
What is right here?
The Little Apron Academy.
It's the daycare associated with Home Depot?
I'm under the assumption.
All right. Before we leave this, sorry. When you were tasked with going to process Leanna Harris's vehicle, did you actually find that at the Home Depot Treehouse office?
Yes.
And is this where you went to take some photographs and document that vehicle and its condition?
That's correct.
State's Exhibit 230 now. Looking at State's Exhibit 230, what's marked here up towards the top is actually tilted sideways, but what's marked there?
Little Apron Academy. Yes, to that.
What is this that's marked here, more towards the center of State's Exhibit 230?
It's a Chick-fil-A restaurant.
Well, what is this right here?
The Home Depot retail store.
What is this marked here?
And this is the Publix, a freestanding shopping center.
And on the left-hand side?
And the Little Apron Academy.
State's Exhibit 228. What's marked at the top of 228?
The initial scene location of Uncle Matteo's Pizza.
And what's over here?
A The movie theater.
And then the secondary scene that you refer to, Home Depot Treehouse, is that marked here as well?
That's correct, right here.
Our next aerial is 231. Describe 231, please.
It's the overview zoomed in of the treehouse office and the adjacent parking locations.
This is the employee parking for that treehouse
That's
office.
correct.
I won't hold you to the specific spot, but is that where you found Leanna Harris's
It is.
vehicle? Let's talk about that vehicle now. Why don't you have a seat for just a second? Show you some photographs. 97 through These are photographs that you took of her vehicle?
They are.
And are these photographs 97 through 111 fair and accurate depictions of the vehicle that you photographed at the treehouse?
They are.
Tender States 97 through 111.
No objection.
We have these included on the thumb drive that's previously been admitted, 227, and you testified that there were fair and accurate depictions of the vehicle included on there. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Ms. Lumpy, I'll bring this to you in just a second.
And I just asked, just clear for the record, it's the same photos that are on the thumb drive as what you just looked at here.
They are.
Great.
If you don't mind, Shumpert, you sit down. 97. This first photograph we have depicted for the jury, States Exhibit 97. Describe what 97 is, please.
This is I located this vehicle, which I learned belonged to Mrs. Harris, in the location of the Treehouse, Home Depot Treehouse corporate office.
This is the parking lot area seen around and behind it. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Literally touch me. You typically take a photo of the back of the vehicles that you can identify at a later date.
That's correct, with a license plate number.
And you did that in this case, States Exhibit 100.
That's correct.
Were you able to look inside the vehicle to see whether there was a car seat?
From the outside, the door was unlocked and we did not have a key, so all the photographs that you see inside the vehicle are actually from the outside of the vehicle.
We'll go to States 107. We don't need to show all of these to the jury. They'll have them at a later time. But looking at 107, what's depicted here?
Car seat.
And what direction does that car seat face?
It's forward facing.
States Exhibit 108, what's that?
Same thing, car seat in the back seat of the car.
And then from the other side, we'll go to States 110, for example. What's 110 show?
Just from another vantage point from the driver's side of the car seat to the rear back window.
All right. This vehicle was processed, or you photographed it from the Home Depot treehouse office depicted in State's Exhibit 231. I don't need to put that back up, but is that correct? 231?
Right, that's correct. It was in this location right about here.
Okay. After taking photographs of that location, did you proceed to Winds Ridge, the defendant's home, per instructions from your command staff so that you could process that pursuant to search warrant?
That's correct.
And as with the other scenes that we've just talked about, did you take photographs there?
I did.
And were there some items of evidence that were actually collected pursuant to search warrant by you as the crime scene investigator?
They were collected by me and instructed through the detectives.
Why don't you have a seat and let's do the photographs first. All right. .112. Is that a fair and accurate depiction of the front door area of that apartment?
That's correct.
Break these up again by category. 113. Sorry to turn my back on the jury, but so they're tender. Gotta make sure y'all don't see them. 113 through 118. Are those fair and accurate depictions of the front hall area of that apartment?
They are.
So I said one, should be 119. 120 through 133. Are those fair and accurate depictions of the living room area?
Yes, they are.
Next room, dining, 134. Through 146, fair and accurate depictions of the dining and kitchen area.
Yes, they are.
147 through 150, fair and accurate depictions of the hallway area leading back towards the bedrooms.
Yes, they are.
151, 156, those fair and accurate depictions of the hall bath.
Yes, they are.
157, through and including 176. So those fair and accurate depictions of Cooper Harris's bedroom.
Yes, they are.
Starting at 177 through and including 200. Are those fair and accurate depictions of the master bedroom and a closet?
Yes, that's correct.
States 201. Is that a fair and accurate depiction of the bathroom associated with that master?
That's correct.
States 202. Fair and accurate depiction of the laundry room, correct?
That's correct.
And then states 203. Is that a zoomed in photograph of the bookcase that I believe was in the living room area?
That's correct.
States 112 through 203.
No objection.
Admitted.
All right, why don't you step down for a moment? We don't need to go through all of these photographs of Shumpert, but I am going to go through some of them. The jury will have these to look at now that they've been admitted. So let's just start with states 112. 112, why do you typically take a photograph like this when you go to a scene pursuant to search warrant and process it?
Right. The address numbers are on the door, so they're in the right location.
I want to ask you about items associated with children as we go through some of these photographs. Did you see some of those items within this home on Winds Ridge?
Throughout the house.
This is State's Exhibit 113. On the left side, what door is that?
That will be the front door.
And what item is this just inside the hallway?
But it appears to be a jogging stroller.
This is still the living room area in States 114, correct, to the left?
Correct.
And is there a kitchen to the right?
Correct.
Let's take a look at the living room area if we could. Starting with 121. Is that same jogging stroller on the left-hand side of this photograph?
That's correct.
And then what's depicted here, just as you make a left into that living room area?
Just as you make a left into the living room area will be the fireplace, and you'll see a TV set on the wall. Then beside it, and continued on, will be the bookcase built into the wall.
And what does this say right here?
It says Cooper's first year.
Let's take a look at some of the other items in the living room. This is States Exhibit 125. Describe what 125 depicts, please.
This is the living room, just an overall of it, showing some areas, children's toys.
Identify what children's toys you were able to observe inside that living room area.
Starting here, you'll see a chair, some play toys, push toys, a red ball, and a push cart.
There's a bookshelf that's in there, and we'll talk more about that in a second, but I want to show exactly where that is. This is States Exhibit 123. Looking at 123, is that in that living room area that you just described?
That's correct.
And is this the bookshelf that's depicted in that last photograph that I showed you before asking you to step down?
That's correct.
Let's go to sticking in the living room. This is States Exhibit 129. What's depicted here in the center?
Some more of the children's toys.
Turning the corner towards, is this the back hallway, is that correct?
That's correct.
I want to ask you about the kitchen area. Looking at States Exhibit 134, describe what 134 depicts.
This is the dining room area, and it's just across from the living room area, and there's a hall that separates it. And behind this, on this side, would be the kitchen.
Looking at States 136, is this still in the kitchen area?
That's correct.
Did you see any children's items that were here, and can you describe what's depicted?
There's a high chair.
Now, to the right of this area, is that where the actual kitchen is?
That's correct.
And then looking up at States 137, is this like a little pass-through
It is.
to the kitchen area?
That's correct.
Did you see things associated with a child inside the kitchen as well?
Right. There were some sippy cups on or about the area of where the sink would be at.
Let's go to 143. We're now inside the kitchen area.
Correct.
States 145, the child sippy cups that you just referred to. Do you see those depicted here?
Yes, there would be a few of them in this photograph right here.
Is this the wall just outside the kitchen area?
That's
in
correct.
States 140?
That's correct.
What do you see here?
There's a Cars children's book bag right here.
States Exhibit 159. Describe what 159 depicts.
This is looking into the child's bedroom from the hall.
This is Cooper Harris's bedroom.
That's correct.
Obviously, there are children's items in that room as well,
That's correct.
including some toys. States Exhibit 161.
That's correct.
And a bed in the corner.
That's correct.
There was also a bed we just saw with looked like it had dark brown headboard up against the opposite walls. That correct?
That's correct.
States Exhibit 171. There are children's items on top of that bed as well.
That's correct.
State's Exhibit 177, is this the master bedroom?
That's correct.
And what's this down on the floor here?
A laptop computer?
State's Exhibit 179, is that a close-up view of that laptop computer?
Yes, it is.
State's 185, describe what that depicts.
Just a close-up of that same exact laptop out the bed.
State's Exhibit. Was there also a computer that you observed just beside the TV in State's 186?
That's correct. There's a computer tower that's situated in between the highway and that dresser right there.
Other than the master room and I think one of the bathrooms, were there essentially children's items in almost every room of the house?
Yes.
This is State's Exhibit 203. What's depicted here in 203?
That's the bookshelf that's in the living room.
This is State's 203. All right. You're holding 203 in your hand, correct?
Correct.
And I've let you hold that because we have some books that are labeled here on the bookshelf. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So when you zoom in, you can actually see some of those a little bit better, correct?
Correct.
All right. For instance, what's the title of this book that I'm pointing out here? Essentially in the center of 203 as I zoom into it.
His needs, her needs.
What about this one right here? It's kind of got the brown spine.
Sacred marriage.
What about this one right here? The pink spine is just beside it.
Calm my anxious heart.
What's the name on that one?
This is breaking free.
Okay. And these are all found on the bookshelf just inside of the living room, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. You can take your seat. Fine. Yeah. Sure. And this one, get those stickers off. This one. All right. There were at least a couple of items that you collected from the home. Did you collect that Dell computer tower?
That's correct.
And did you collect a MacBook Pro laptop from that location as well?
That's correct.
233 hands to you. I'm just looking at the package and now open it and look inside. Can you tell me if you recognize what that is?
This is a MacBook laptop collected from the scene.
And did you collect that from the Winsrich home?
That's correct.
And when you collect it, what do you do so that you can recognize the item when you get to court? How do you package it?
They're placed in evidence bags if they can, and then they're sealed and initialed.
Okay, very good. And did you do that in this case when this was collected?
Right. This was actually collected and sealed by one of the detectives that was executing the search warrant with me.
You were present in that. We actually saw a photograph of this particular laptop, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And the tower, because of its size, it's not bad. This is State's Exhibit 234. Do you recognize this as being the computer tower that was in the master bedroom?
That's correct.
And the jury already saw some photographs of this. This is the same tower that was beside the TV stand?
That's correct.
And this was collected pursuant to search warrant as well?
That's correct.
Offender States 233 and 234.
Motions regarding these matters, we don't have any objections about that.
Very good, thank you.
Now, is it your job to actually do any computer analysis on these types of things, or we have a separate unit that does extractions and analysis?
No, we have a high-tech crime squad that examines and extracts all data from electronic devices that we collect.
Okay. Okay. The search warrant that we just talked about and the photographs that were depicted for the jury, the one that's currently up on the screen happens to be 203. That initial search warrant, when was that executed on defendant's home?
On the same day as the original notification of the incident, later on about 8 o'clock is when I believe we started that.
Okay. So that would be June the 18th of 2014.
That's correct.
Were you later tasked, I know you're not the lead investigator, the lead detective, but were you later tasked with going back to that residence sometime later that month, June 30th of 2014?
That's correct.
And specifically, I want to ask you about some light bulbs. Were you asked to go and see if there were any light bulbs that were out inside the home, a particular type of light bulb?
That's correct.
And did you take some photographs when you went back in pursuant to search warrant on June the 30th of 2014?
I did.
Did you find some light bulbs that were out?
Yeah, in the bathroom we did find some light bulbs that were out.
235, 36. Show two photographs. This is 235 and 236. Those are very accurate depictions of the area inside the bathroom that you took the photographs showing the couple of light bulbs that were out
That's correct.
from June the 30th of 2014.
That's correct.
Tender States 235 and 236.
Do you have
They're
any
tender.
objection?
I don't have an objection to the photographs.
Here, admitted.
I want to be really clear too. We've obviously put a lot of photographs in. We haven't looked at all of them. There are a lot more that are included on this flash drive and a lot more hard copies that have all been admitted. Is that correct?
That's correct.
In addition, you took a lot more photographs than just these. Is that your responsibility as a crime scene investigator?
Photographs tell the story, and I take a lot of them for this case.
Okay. Mr. Lumpkin, are you needing the 227 to remain in?
I'm sorry.
The flash drive? Do you want me to leave it in or take it out?
You can leave it in for now, in case I get a while there. Try to use it.
All right, that's all I have at this point.
Cross examine, please.
Try not to move too much. I'm going to stuck around here. Let me talk just a little bit back about your training to be a crime scene. The crime scene technician, is that the official title?
That's correct.
All right. And is there specific training that you have to go through in order to become a crime scene technician?
That's correct.
And that's separate, I think you've indicated, from what a police officer goes through. Is that
That's
right?
correct.
Okay. And how long does it take to get, I don't know if it's certified or just labeled that, how long does it take to get that?
It's a state certification.
Okay?
And I would say if you had nothing going on, you can get it done within probably about a year and a half.
Wow, okay. And is that like going to school constantly for a year and a half? Or is it
No, it's whenever they're
semesters?
scheduled at the Georgia Public Safety Training Center in Forsyth, Georgia.
Okay. And is there a certain number of hours or weeks that you have to go in order to get that training?
There are.
I'm sorry?
There are.
And what are those? How many did you have to have?
They're separate courses.
Okay.
Their lengths and times vary.
Okay.
They're all mandated courses that you have to go to accomplish that part of the post-training.
How much did you go through?
Every one of them.
How much was that?
General hours off the top of my head, probably 320, maybe 360.
Okay. And that's all before you become a crime scene technician?
Right, before you're post-certified.
I got you. And do you go through continuous training each year, I presume, to either keep that certification or just to stay up to date with things?
Right, just to stay up with things. Once you achieve that certification, there's no mandate of going to a certain number of hours every year, but we do.
And do you have any idea in the time from your becoming a technician till you became to June 18th, any idea how many extra hours you may have had?
I'd probably say maybe 100 to 200 more hours of training.
And in going through that training, of course, they're talking to you about how to handle it. Handle a scene, handle evidence, how to document it, how to make reports, how to deal with all the people involved, and a lot of other things, I presume.
That's correct.
All right. And in your documenting a scene, are you keeping track and writing notes as you go throughout the scene that you can track to later, or how do you actually draw your reports?
It would be, times and dates are usually I'll write those down, or as I collect evidence, those are written on there.
Okay.
Times and dates are kept by just random notes that I would take on when I do them. Other than that, that's basically how I keep track with them, is just writing them on a notepad.
You say times and dates. How about what people would tell you as you come to a scene, or things that you see while you're on the scene? Are you writing that down as you go, or you just kind of keep it in your head, or a little bit of both? What?
But if you gave me a command, I would write down, go to this address. I would write the address down.
Sure.
The date and time that I arrived, the date and time that I left. Anything else that I collected, I'd write it down.
Very good. And you did a report in this case, correct?
Correct.
Multiple reports, I guess I should say. You're trying to take them in order as you talked about them. As you were called out, I understand Lieutenant Farrell actually called you directly to tell you to report to Dicker's Mill location.
That's correct.
And your understanding as you came there was a deceased child that you needed to document that scene and
That's
put it
correct.
see there. And I think you indicated on direct that Lieutenant Farrell's one who said that the child is basically over there under the sheet. I don't know if he did give you a description of what the child looked like or anything at that point in time, or just there was a child there, or do you recall?
Right. There's no description. Just I when I get there to do the walkthrough, I was like, and I didn't see the child. I didn't know if the child had been transported by an ambulance.
Okay.
And I asked where the child was, and he said under a sheet on the ground by the car.
Would that have been the extent of what Lieutenant's kind of telling you to do, is, hey, there's a child here, we just need you to document everything like you normally would?
That's correct, going through the motions.
All right. And when you're walking around the scene, are you walking with a lieutenant or detective or anybody? You're just kind of going on your own, or how do you do that?
I go about it on my own. If I have any questions, I'll ask. They're usually there to manage the scene, command the scene. If they have anything to give to me, they will come and say, hey, do this. Or if I have any questions for them, I'll ask them. They usually kind of stay outside as I process.
Okay. And obviously, you're getting inside the crime scene tape there, just kind of walking around. Do they have things marked off at any point in time? I guess in this scene, it's a little bit different than some you deal with. Was there, other than obviously the car where the child was there anything else kind of marked off for you to be looking at?
No, it's generally as simple as there's a car here, there's a child deceased under the blanket by the car.
Very good. As you are taking photographs all around the scene and of the vehicle here, I understood you say you never did actually enter the vehicle itself.
That's correct.
Right. And as you're taking photographs, do you have one particular camera that you use to do that, or do you have to change up different cameras depending on what it is you want to photograph?
I have one that I use.
All right. And we may even see a picture of it in a reflection of a window of one of these. So can you just kind of describe to us what kind of camera it is that you use?
It's a digital SLR with a lens, basically, that we can zoom and magnify what we're taking a photograph of. SLR means light reflective. It's not just a point and shoot camera.
And how big is it as far as its diameter is a little bit?
It's just describe it in my hands. It's about this big.
So 6, 8 inches.
I would say about 6 inches.
Okay. Wide.
Wide.
And how about the depth of the lens? Are we talking like something we'd see on TV? Someone?
No, I believe.
Or?
From my report. I believe I was using a 18 by 55 millimeter lens.
The Canon T21 SLR, does that sound right?
Right.
Okay, very good. And so what does that mean, 18 by 55? What does that tell you as far as how big it was?
That's the field of aperture I am taking the photograph. What I can zoom in and zoom out on, basically, layman's terms.
All right. And I'm trying to just get an idea how long it is.
The lens on the camera?
Yes, sir.
Just maybe an inch or two in length.
Okay. All right. And so as you walk around looking at the vehicle, you're looking for particular things that you can take photographs of. Is that fair to say?
Generally, just taking overall a close up and document everything that can be documented.
Okay. And is it part of your job as you arrive on a scene to kind of understanding what the scene appears to be about, to be looking to see if there's particular things you might see that be relevant to that particular investigation?
There's always that point. My main objective is to document it as they sat, so we can bring it back here so you guys can see them. And that's what my primary objective is. If I'm asked to go take a photograph of something specific, then I'll be given that command. Most of it's just general observation and general overview of the scope of the incident location.
And is it fair to say that sometimes you take photographs that you just think you're documenting that sometimes later on become real important because you captured something even unintentionally?
That sometimes happens.
And sometimes vice versa, you wish, gosh, I was right there, I could have got a picture of that, but I didn't get it. That might have been helpful.
Sometimes that happens as well.
Very good. And as you're walking around the scene, we've got all sorts of photographs of this vehicle. Is there any picture that you took that has the roof of the car in it?
We could go back and look at the photographs. I believe there's on the direct top of the roof, looking
Right.
down on there.
Right.
I didn't have a ladder, and I'm 6 foot tall, so I wouldn't be able to take that photograph.
I got you. How tall are you?
6 foot.
Oh, you are 6 foot. I got you. And so you weren't able to see over the roof, in other words.
Like directly on top of it, I
Right.
could see the roof line,
Right.
and then the curvature of the roof line, but I couldn't get a directly overhead shot of that unless I were standing on top of something.
Very good. noted that as you were walking around the car, there were several, there was one door that was open, and there were some tinted windows on the back windows, and then the front windows were clear, correct?
That's correct.
And as far as the car seat, you mentioned several times, or at least Mr. Evans asked you about seeing the car seat. As you were taking the photos, had you been directed specifically to take photos of the car seat or anything particularly regarding the car seat?
At the beginning, then as we're out there, I'm getting commands to go make sure that you take photographs of the car seat.
Okay. So that was a specific task that was given to you for you to go do?
That's correct.
When you have that specific task, that's part of your training, is you go directly looking for it, make sure you can document and get it clear, every angle you can come up with, correct?
That's correct.
Now, I know you, as you went around the vehicle, there were some pictures, and I'm going to get that good enough. Let me see if I can figure this out. No, that's not it. I'm going to do it old fashioned. You took some pictures of the car, and I'll ask you as I'm looking for it. You recall around the car itself, there being some water on the ground? Does that stand out in your mind at all? And when I say the car, the Acres Mill scene with Mr. Harris's vehicle.
Okay.
Do you recall that at all?
I believe the car was running
Okay.
prior to my getting there. I don't recall water from the car. I mean, water from the air conditioning from the car? Or
That's
water
what
on
it
the
looks like.
vehicle?
That's what I want to ask you about. I was just trying to see if that's something that you noted. I think I found the picture here for you. But
On that note, I don't recall water on the being on there.
that wasn't something certainly that you were looking for or told to be looking for or noting, correct?
That's correct.
Tell you what, we're gonna get some help here. All right. Someone finds it, then I'll show it to you. We'll talk about it a little bit. When you were on the scene and you were with the medical examiner, investigator, he got there after you did, and you had already done an initial walk around, is that correct?
That's correct.
And you didn't interview anybody on scene, correct?
I do not conduct any interviews of anyone on the scene. It's just primarily questions between detectives, on scene command, and myself. And that's only the people I speak with on scene.
Very good, very good. All right. And as you're prepared your report for this, you tried to document everything that you observed and saw and were aware of relevant to this.
That's correct.
That's correct. And as far as the items that are in the car, you didn't go in the car. Was there ever a point in time where you were allowed to actually go inside the car to document things inside the vehicle?
I did not go. The vehicle was towed from scene back to our with crime scene, a processing garage at police headquarters, which a search warrant was later obtained, so entry could be made and then processed on the inside. That wasn't done by me. That was done by my partner early that morning, the next morning.
Okay. Who is that, by chance?
Grimstead.
Your partner? I'm sorry?
Grimstead.
Officer Grimstead?
That's
Okay.
correct.
He wasn't with you on this thing, correct?
No, we worked morning watch. He come in after I got back.
Very good. I want to show a picture of Mr. Evans. Is there a particular folder I can punch so the jury can see it well?
I can assist you with that.
If you don't mind assisting me, I'd appreciate it.
What's the photo number?
19.
Just double click on the number. Perfect. Just don't read the number.
Excellent. Okay. Are you ever see that?
That photograph?
Yes, sir. this is what I'm talking about in the foreground and in front of the car. It looks like some water coming from the car. You see that?
Air conditioning condensation.
Okay. You're familiar with that?
Right.
And what does that indicate to you? That the air conditioning is running in the car, or at least has been running to cause
That's
the car?
correct.
All right. And you said, was the car running when you were there, or just the key in the ignition?
I believe it was running, and then it was turned off by,
Somebody.
right, but the key was left in the ignition.
All right, very good. And did you note in the photo where you were asked about the temperature? (222). Did you note? There's a secret way to go back in there, Mr. Evans.
Get that X out of it, yes, sir. All right, just find the exhibit number and double tap it. Oh, I'm sorry, it's in it.
That one? Yeah, there it is. There we go. This is stage 222, I believe. And right next to the temperature that you were asked to highlight, are you able to see an indicator as far as the air direction on the air conditioner on there? Are you able to see that where you are?
I can.
I'll give you the picture up close. Are you familiar enough to tell us, as far as the air indicator, what's that indicating where the air is blowing?
It's got it looks like maybe an arrow pointing up, the temperature of 95 degrees, and low, LO, to the right of that.
Very good. Thank you. And you went to talking about the car seat that you saw inside the vehicle, that from every angle as you took a photograph, you were able to see the car seat. And as we look at the photograph, certainly we're able to see that. I won't go through them all again. Do you recall, as you were on the scene, looking into the car and seeing the car seat at that point in time, or you are indicating just as you saw them as you see them in the photographs?
Repeat the question.
Yeah. When you were on the scene, do you remember at that point, you were just taking photographs of the car itself?
Right.
Do you remember mentally saying, wow, I can see that car seat from every angle here? Or is that just something as you look back at photographs, you see, I can see it in the photographs?
I was just trying to document it from every angle.
Okay. So you weren't making note of what you could see inside the car at the time. You were just taking pictures of whatever was there.
Right, I have every vantage point I could possibly present to someone.
Very good. And as you do your job, again, you have some specific training to be focused on particular things you're looking at to try to capture it all.
That's correct.
And so when you're looking for things, if they're there, you're able to find them for the most part, correct?
I'll try my best.
Very good. And do you do that kind of throughout your life? Do you catch yourself just kind of looking at every single thing as you go around, or are you able to kind of leave that at work?
Try to leave that at work.
Very good, very good. And so as you came to court, for example, this morning, you came in here, were you focused on trying to figure out where the witness box is, because it's a different courtroom than you're used to?
Was hoping somebody would show me the way, but yes.
Very good. And making sure you didn't trip on courts and that sort of thing. That's what your focus was on, correct?
That's correct.
You weren't necessarily focused around to see what else was in the courtroom, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And let's say, particularly for this podium, this didn't catch your eye or anything of that nature as you walked in here a couple times this morning, correct?
That's correct.
All right. So whether or not this podium is open or closed, you didn't make note of that.
I did.
And anything that's in the podium, you didn't make note of that.
No, I didn't.
All right. And could you step down here for me, please, sir? Just looking at the podium we have in the courtroom, it actually is open on this side that we're looking at, correct?
Correct.
Are you able to see an item that's sitting right there inside the podium?
Keyboard.
All right. You're able to see that very clearly looking at it right now,
That's correct.
correct? Now direct your attention to it, correct?
Correct.
You didn't notice that as you walked in here to the courtroom, correct?
Didn't cross my mind.
You weren't past to look at it.
That's correct.
Very good. Have a seat. Now, frankly, it wasn't of any interest to you to look at the podium as you walked in. You're simply trying to get to the witness stand.
Simply trying to get right.
Now, you said, it was a little unclear to me, when you got there, did you say that Mr. Harris was in the patrol car and that you saw him, or you couldn't remember if you saw him or not?
I believe they were on their way out,
Okay.
outside of going into Acres Mill Road on the way in, Piper's patrol car.
You say actually moving, the patrol car was leaving at that point in time?
I believe they were stationary when I arrived. When I parked outside of Acres Mill near Cinco's on that side. You may can see from a photograph.
Let's start with that first one. Is it S1, the first one from the Acres Mill, or is that? Did you park somewhere out here, outside the scene take?
Can we go one more photograph more? That's where I was generally stuck parked.
This will go to the next one. In other words, you didn't drive through this, obviously.
No, sir.
And you didn't come around to the backside?
No, sir.
Okay.
Hey, if you look at that photograph,
Yes, sir. You can step down if you want
to the left, I'm parked literally on Acres Mill Road.
Very good, very good. All right. And was traffic getting backed up because of all the police cars there, or were y'all out of the way so that it wasn't getting worse?
Yeah, all the patrol cars are inside the front entrance of that. Acres Mill was running pretty clear.
Okay. And when you say running pretty clear, there's just a regular, as we know in Cobb County, our 5 o'clock traffic, but
Regular heavy flow traffic, that's correct.
And when you got there, by chance, which direction did you come from? Were you driving from this way toward Alcamadios, or were you coming from, in other words, which way did you have to turn in?
Coming from the interstate side.
All right. So when you came in to turn to the right, were you in the far left lane to get there, or did you kind of get over to the right lane so you could pull in there?
I would be making a left-hand turn to turn in there.
You're making a left-hand turn, so you were coming from this side.
Right, the interstate side.
Very good. All right. And so you believe that Officer Piper's car was it somewhere out here getting ready to leave, you think?
I believe when I arrived, they were moving out to that lane and go around to the outside to make a right or left. I didn't really pay attention to their direction of travel. I just remember seeing the squad car coming out and recognizing Piper.
Okay, I get that. That's why it stands out, because you recognize her specifically.
Correct.
Okay. You didn't recognize anybody being in the back seat at that point in time?
I saw a male back there,
Okay.
but
Didn't know who it was at that point?
right.
Very good. Excuse me. When you had to take the photographs of Cooper underneath the sheet, I think you said that Emmy's investigator actually took the sheet off of him.
That's correct.
And you took the photographs from the different angles that we've seen. As far as taking the photos of the different parts of the body and that sort of thing, was that something that you asked to be done, or was that something Emmy's investigator would have asked you to do?
That'll be something the investigator, the ME, he'll do a field exam.
Right.
We'll go through he'll go through the exam looking for injuries on the seating,
Okay.
and then he would just say, "Hey, photograph this," and I will do so.
All right. And we see in some of those pictures of Cooper, it appears there's something underneath him. Looks like the white sheet, frankly. But do you recall what was put underneath him? Were you going to take those photographs?
He was sheet was moved,
Okay.
and I don't recall if Investigator Jackson put another sheet or disaster bag underneath him before we started photographing that. But he brought out extra sheets and a disaster bag, body bag.
And were you made aware that at least 2 people one person had pulled Cooper out of the car initially? Were you aware of that when you got there?
I was not aware.
And were you aware that at least that person, one other person, and maybe some police officers attempted CPR on Cooper?
I wasn't aware of that until after the fact.
And but you were aware of seeing the ME's investigator moving Cooper's body around, picking him up, putting him on the sheet, holding him up, moving him around,
That's correct.
pulling the clothes here and there.
That's correct.
And then you indicated that there was you could smell the urine from the diaper, I think you said. Is that right?
To me, it smelled like hot, sweaty, the urine, like a dirty diaper smell. So,
And that's as you're you're down there next to Cooper taking photographs and that sort of thing.
That's correct.
And you didn't note that detail in your report, correct?
What the
In the smell.
to me was unremarkable.
Okay, unremarkable. And as you sit here today, that's one of the first things you testified about, correct? To the smell.
I just answered your question.
I mean, when
exact
Mr.
way.
Evans was asking you
That's correct.
earlier.
That's
You recall
correct.
that? Okay. And did anyone ask you about that before you came to testify?
Asked me if I had smelled a smell.
Uh-huh.
That was later on during this was brought up, and I believe in passing it was asked, but it was outside. It was. Yeah, I smelled a dirty diaper, but it was unremarkable to me that when I was down there, it was something that I didn't, wouldn't make note of. It's a baby, it's a toddler, they have a wet diaper.
And do you remember who it was who in passing mentioned this to you?
I don't recall.
Remember, was it a police officer?
That was probably so.
Was it one of your superiors?
I don't think so.
Was it one of the detectives in the case?
Then again, I don't recall. It's been 2 years ago. So
All right. Do you recall when they asked you about that?
then again, I don't recall. It's been a couple of years. So
Okay. But you never made a report of it, correct?
about the smell?
Correct.
No, I've never made a report about it.
Now, when you went to how long would you say you were out there on the scene at Acres Mill to do all your documenting?
If I had a copy of my report, I can refresh you on the time I got there and the time I left to go to the treehouse, Home Depot treehouse corporate office.
Do you want me to, do you have it with you? No, I think this is the one you're referring to. If not, let me know.
So for about 2 hours.
And did you just finish up and just kind of hanging around when you got the new task, or were you in the process of still kind of doing what you were doing, and they said, hey, got another place we want you to go to?
No, it was immediately. Go finish breaking down the scene. The medical investigator removed the body from the scene. I broke down the tent, the barrier, and it was go to the next scene, go to photograph that car.
Were you there when Cooper's body was removed from the scene?
Yes.
All right. And you didn't assist in that yourself, I presume?
No.
Okay. And they would have put him in, I think you refer to it as a disaster bag. It was
Right.
there.
Investigator Jackson he picked the child up in the bag or in the sheet with the bag on there, and then they placed it in the bag.
All right. Very good. And were you there when the car was removed from the scene?
No, I wasn't. I was already en route to the.
But you had already done all the painting around the tires and that sort of thing to know where it was?
That's correct.
All right. And as you were taking those photographs, particularly of the, let's see here, looking inside the car. There we go. All right, starting with, looks like stage 27. This is you standing in the doorway, looking down at the driver's seat, correct?
That's correct.
And you're telling us you're standing right in the doorway, but you're not actually getting inside the car itself.
That's correct.
And looking at the next group, and frankly, when you see the car seat here, you can see the top part of the car seat. Is that right?
That's correct.
But you're not able to see down into the car seat.
That's correct.
And this is as you're standing there inside the door frame with your head below the roof, taking a picture of it, correct?
That's correct.
Stakes 28. Again, you kind of squared up, if you will, against the car and the door frame. And again, you're able to see the top of the car seat here, but not down into the car seat, correct?
That's correct.
And again, you're not above the roof of the car. You're where your head is and where your line of sight is below the roof.
Right.
Stage 29, same.
Correct.
Stage 30, you're still in the door frame. You're maybe turned a little bit to the left. The angle of it at least looks like we're turned a little bit, and you're taking a picture to kind of show the floor mats in the front part of the car, correct?
Correct.
And you can't even see the car seat at all in that photograph, correct?
Not from that vantage point.
This stage 31, I think you said, and I think maybe the next one, these were taken from outside the car. Even though stage 31, 32, looking at it, looks really clear. That must be something you learned at one of your classes, how to take a good picture through the glass.
That's correct.
And I think you said you did that because you don't want the glare of the glass interfering with your picture.
That's correct.
And when you say the glare of the glass, meaning because of the lighting conditions that you might not be able to actually see through the window well, even though you're using a good camera?
Right. I mean, it's light reflective. So light reflects off glass. Of course, it's going to get a reflection of you in it and whatever else is around you. It's just done that way so you can see it clearly.
And although this is a hot day, you indicated there's actually thunderstorms rolling in as you were there, correct? That's when you put the tent over it.
There were.
And I don't know if we can see the clouds. You see the clouds in the reflection there of your stage 31 a little bit? Are you able to see that from where you are?
Yeah. Right.
You're a very good picture taker.
Thank you.
It wouldn't be fair to just ask you that, but I'm just going to tell you that, okay? So as you went around, let's go back here. Stage 35, this is one where now you've turned at an angle to look toward the back seat.
Correct.
We can actually, you can see the car seat and actually at least down to the other side of it.
Correct.
Which would be the left-hand side of the car seat as the child will be sitting in, correct?
Correct.
And again, you're below the roof, pointing your camera directly at that position, correct?
That's correct.
You were asked about where the car seat was. The car seat was not sitting right there between the driver's seat and passenger seat, was it?
That was in the back seat in the center.
And you said there's maybe an inch or 2 inches between the car seat itself and the back of the front seats, correct?
That's correct.
How much longer is your examination?
I've still got to get to the residents and that sort of thing, so it'll be a few minutes if you want to break us. Good place. Thank you.
I just want to know if it's a good place for you.
It is, absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take our lunch recess. Close the tabs, keep an open mind, don't discuss this case at all. Y'all have a good life.
Please watch your step going down.
Mr. Chestnut. Bill. Their lunch is back there? Their lunch is here, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. We'll break till 1:15. Y'all have a good lunch.